The Devils opened up their season in Prague and they came away with a 4-1 victory over the Buffalo Sabres. I got to be honest, they exceeded my expectations. Where do they go from here, and what were some of my main takeaways from the matchup? We have a lot to break down in today's episode of Locked On Devils. Buckle up, everybody.
You're Locked On Devils, your daily podcast on the New Jersey Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, this is Bryce Salvador, and you're Locked On Devils with Trey Matthews.
Scores! Oh, Stevens stepped up, nailed him. Brodor's got the puck. What a shot. The Devils win the Stanley Cup.
Alrighty now, what is up, New Jersey? Welcome back to the Locked On Devils podcast here at the Locked On Network. I'm your host, college hockey play announcer, Devils writer of Pucks and Pitchforks, and also part-time credential media member, Trey Matthews. Game 1 of 82, and the New Jersey Devils did not disappoint. They were in Prague to open up their season against Lindy Ruff and the Buffalo Sabres, and they walked away with a 4-1 victory in convincing fashion. We have officially begun the 2024-2025 season. Buckle up, everybody, like I say in every cold open, because it's going to get good. It's been a while since I've broken down a regular season game. Might be a little rusty, similar to a lot of the players, but let's get back into it. In the first segment, I will share some initial thoughts I had about the game because I was very active on social media and I shared my opinions as the game progressed. And then in the second segment, it's been a while since I've done this and I'm actually really excited to do it. I will highlight some players that caught my eye and list my personal 3 stars of the game. Full disclosure, it is subjective and it is from my perspective what I noticed when I watched the game. Everyone's stars can be different and I am open to that conversation. Then in the third and final segment, like I do with every post-game recap, I will compare the stats and give the Devils a letter grade. Not a thumbs up or a thumbs down like I do in preseason because I usually take preseason games with a grain of salt. We're going to give them an A, B, C, D, or an F for any of you who are new to my show. All right. Before I share my thoughts going into the game and my main takeaways from it, just a tiny rant, if you would. This game was aired nationally on NHL Network and locally on MSG. I'm just going to say this. I think NHL games or sports games in general need easier access, especially we're in a day and an age where a lot of people have cell phones. I'm tired of local blackouts. I'm tired of a streaming service like YouTube TV not providing NHL Network, making it more difficult for people like me who are not in the local area for the time being to watch the game. And sometimes you got to get creative in order to watch it. Luckily, I was able to watch the game, but I think access needs to be a little easier for people who have YouTube TV or people who are not living in the local area, things like that. The NHL and other leagues in general, let's make it more easy for people to watch their favorite sports teams. But anyway, rant over. Let's talk about the positives. All right. A lot of people were concerned about the Devils at the conclusion of preseason. They only had one preseason victory, but their main guys weren't competing in it because the Devils have been in Prague for, I believe, like a week or so. But anyway, here's what Sheldon Keefe had to say to the media in regards to what was the mindset heading into this matchup. Take a listen.
Sheldon, what is your message to your team? You know, we've talked so much about how so much is new for everybody, but here we are at the real thing. What message do you go into with your team today?
Well, just to take the lessons that we, pulled from preseason with how we played. It didn't really all come together for us in preseason, but I do feel like we made incremental progress in certain areas of our game that are really important. And it was sort of like, you're kind of fixing one thing one day, and then the next day something else kind of shows up that needs more attention. And we've had some time between now and then, 3 real practice days that we've had since then to kind of tie things together. And that's what you're hoping here now is when the puck drops and now we're playing for points and we're playing for real. that it comes together, and then also that just the guys are just that much more comfortable in playing with how we want them to play.
Left side, second row.
I'd say looking back at that, how difficult was the task trying to get everything meshed together for those 4 preseason games and get everything together? And where do you think the team is now as far as understanding the system, understanding the flow, and kind of what you want?
Yeah, I think we're in a good place. We'll see. The puck's going to drop, and we're going to, we'll get out of here. But yeah, we had some additional challenges, right, with the 4 games and 6 nights, so you can only use certain guys in certain situations. We had the situation with Jack and Timo and even Nemec coming off of either surgeries or injuries that, we bought them more time and didn't use them early in that first game. And then just our own injuries that we're still dealing with Pesci and Luke and obviously on Hull's situation as well. So we had all these different things that we were dealing with in the short amount of time where you're trying to get things done and bring the group together early on, that those things worked against us in that regard. But I do think we've had ample time now to really get things cleaned up and get ready to go.
I got to keep myself honest. If the Devils came out on the losing end, I would have said, don't overreact, because it's game 1 of 82. And even though the Devils ended up winning this game, and it was in dominating fashion, it was everything I could have asked for and more, the sentiment has to remain the same because it's a long season. But I will say the Devils exceeded my expectations, but there's still a long way to go. But they're heading in the right direction, if that makes sense. Going back to that Sheldon Keefe soundbite, he's absolutely right. Preseason does not dictate what you're going to do in the regular season, similar to how the regular season doesn't dictate what you're going to do in the playoffs, because the team that usually wins the President's Trophy doesn't end up winning the Stanley Cup, because the playoffs are a different animal compared to the regular season. And the same can be said for the regular season and the preseason. The Devils never had their main guys on the sheet of ice during preseason for any of the games. And I told people, take a chill pill. This team is completely new, and Sheldon Keefe is the new head coach behind the bench. Everyone has to get accustomed to his coaching style and his system. Players are coming back from injury. Just be patient. And if this Devils team does end up getting to a slow start, then it wouldn't surprise me. Just give this team some time. It's a marathon, not a sprint, but the Devils came out the game strong. Here are my main takeaways from the game. Excellent speed and pace. Sheldon Keefe said that he wants this team to play even faster. According to one of his players, I forget who specifically said it, but I read online saying that that was the mindset Sheldon Keefe was trying to instill to his guys. And it kind of took me by surprise, because I'm just like, the Devils already play fast. You got Jack Hughes, Nico Hischier, Jesper Bratt. It's not like they're slowpokes, but the pace in which they were playing, is it crazy for me to say, it seems new and improved compared to last year. I was rather impressed, and they were playing with a purpose, which was dearly lacking last season. Here's the big thing that I loved from this team, and it's been a while since I've said it. Excellent, phenomenal forechecking and physicality. If Jersey Joe were on today's episode, he would say the Devils played like a bunch of Sasquatches out there. They were asserting themselves. They were playing aggressive. Players like Paul Cotter, Curtis Lazar, Nathan Bastian, Eric Holla, Stefan Nason, they were asserting themselves, and the Devils are still missing some key roster players. And the fact that they were playing with that sense of purpose and playing with that much physicality, it does have me excited going the rest of the way. Like I said, I'm not trying to jump ahead of myself. It's still game 1 of 82, but it's hard to not get excited based on what I just saw. And hopefully the Devils can continue that, because they have to play again, and puck drop is scheduled in a few hours when this episode goes live. But going back to some more takeaways, excellent passing display, especially the stretch passes. And that led to great teamwork, because the Devils did a good job of smothering the Sabres, because the Sabres could not establish any offensive zone time. The Devils were dominating them on that sheet of ice. And the biggest thing, because people were hammering this point on home, last year, Devils needed a goalie, and they got a goalie in Jacob Markstrom. An impressive regular season debut for Jacob Markstrom. And at the conclusion of period 2, the Devils were up 3-0. It seemed like they were on their way to a shutout. Unfortunately, Owen Power had to ruin it in period 3, but I will give him a pass because he's from the University of Michigan, and I care more about the win than I do about the shutout. But still a good outing from Jacob Markstrom. Overall, like I said, not trying to get ahead of myself, but that was a good first step for this Devils team. And like I told you, I would much rather they make the big mistakes in preseason compared to the regular season, because these games do count. I get it's the global series, it's a marketing tactic. They're trying to grow the game, they're trying to expand it, but it still counts, this big event aside. And the Devils need to try to get off on the right foot, and that's exactly what they did. The new guys impressed me. It seems like the chemistry is heading in the right direction. Sheldon Keefe had a great game plan against Lindy Ruff. And Tom Fitzgerald, I'm sure he's smiling ear to ear wherever he was in the stadium, because he saw that the guys that he acquired over the offseason were having a good first impression. We're going to talk about some of those new assets momentarily, but before we continue, let me tell you guys about Game Time. I've actually used the Game Time app before to purchase myself some MLB and NBA tickets. Game Time Picks. Creation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. All-in pricing. Toggling this feature shows the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. Seat views. Get a good view from your seat in the app before you buy. The lowest price guaranteed, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Game Time ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time, everybody. All right, let's do one of my favorite things to do after a Devils win, which is highlight some players that caught my eye. Now, before I list my 3 stars of the game, let me give you some honorable mentions. People who just missed out on it for more reasons than one, or maybe there was just a player that was better than them. There were a lot of players who had a good first game, and I got to show them some love. Tomas Tatar, he didn't walk away with a single point. But what I noticed on that Jonathan Kovacevic goal was that I thought he tipped it on in. It looked like he tipped it on in, but it was credited Kovacevic's goal. Not going to argue that. But I loved the energy that Tomas Tatar showed after the goal was scored. Tatar obviously loves being here, and I think he's found a home here in New Jersey. I'm excited to see what Tuna can do the rest of the way, because he was a vital part of that 2022-2023 Devils team that won 52 games. Big plus minus, efficient player. I don't need Tatar to repeat that success from a couple seasons ago. All he has to do is just replace Alexander Holtz's goal scoring capabilities and be efficient, and all will be well. Tomas Tatar, welcome home. Had to give him a shout out. Dawson Mercer. Mercer walked away with 1 point. He got the secondary assist on Kovacevic's goal. Mercer played really well, and he has a point to show for it. Dawson was finding the open lanes, and if he continues to do that, then he's going to break that streak he's had the past couple seasons in which he gets off to a slow start, but then he starts to pick it up in January. Seems like Mercer is hearing the criticisms, which is, look, you can no longer get off to a slow start. Otherwise, you're going to see your name in trade discussions, because this team is stacked. And sometimes they do have to get rid of dead weight if they want to be buyers at the deadline, or if they want to re-sign some of their big name assets. But Dawson Mercer, good start to the season, walked away with 1 point. Could have been a lot more, but he was everywhere. I loved what I saw. Nico Hischier, he scored the only goal in period 2, and it put the Devils up 3-0. Hischier was the only player from the core 4 to walk away with a point. Who's the core four? It's himself, Jack Hughes, Jesper Bratt, and Timo Meyer. Setting the tone early amongst those players, and it's the captain. And it was a beautiful goal, but I think Nathan Bastian and Paul Cotter deserve a lot more credit for it based on their physicality and setting the captain up on a dime. I'll talk about that momentarily. Next, Seamus Casey making his NHL debut, and what a way to make it. In Prague, in a different country, he had to earn his spot via preseason, and he turned a lot of heads. Doesn't matter if he's playing on his offhand or not. Seamus Casey never looked out of place. There were a few times in which he coughed up the puck, but he would get back quickly and he would recoup. And that's one of the things I loved about him. He was definitely strong, and hopefully he can carry that the rest of the way. And also, I don't want the Devils to put too much pressure on him, but he's making a good first impression. And the one thing I got to say is, like, look, make it a tough decision for the Devils to send you down. I think he's heading in the right direction. I was rather impressed with Seamus Casey. We got a couple more honorable mentions. The next one is Nathan Bastian. I told you guys that Nathan Bastian can be vital on this roster in more ways than one. He's not the star player. He's not going to stick out in any particular category, but I thought Bastian got too much unnecessary hate. And he didn't even finish the season last year because he was injured. Nathan Bastian, alongside Curtis Lazar and Paul Cotter, he was showing his physicality. Bastian walked away with a couple of points. He had 2 assists. He got the primary assist on Nico Hischier's goal, and he also got the primary assist on Paul Cotter's empty netter goal. All right, this one hurts my heart a little bit because I really wanted to make Stefan Noesen one of my 3 stars, but like I said, there were a lot of good players in this game. Oh man, but Stefan Noesen is my final honorable mention. He got the first goal of the season. I told you guys to keep an eye out for Noesen during preseason. I said I was impressed with his forechecking. I was impressed with his net front presence. And I said he's going to be a decent-sized X factor for this Devils team. How did he get his first goal of the season? Well, he earned the puck back with an excellent forecheck. And what did he do afterwards? He was hanging in front of the net. Kovacevic saw him, and Noesen had a great shot, and he got it into the back of the net. Incredible. That was picturesque, poetry in motion. Being aggressive with the forecheck, getting the puck on free. Kovacevic saw an open lane, saw Noesen had no one on him, and Noesen was rewarded with a goal. That's blue-collar hockey. And I don't want people to underestimate Stefan Noesen. He's going to be one of my favorite players to look out for the rest of the way. And I thought what he did was incredible. All right, my third star of the game goes to Jacob Markstrom. I have to give it to Markstrom just because he saw 31 shots and he saved 30 of them, and he had a shutout going into the final period of regulation. Not only that, he has already made a name for himself to have save of the year. What happened? Rasmus Dahlin was trying to set up his teammates, so he got the puck near Markstrom. Sabres are right there to pounce it on in, and Markstrom uses his paddle to get it out. And then he lands onto it momentarily to stop the momentum. It was incredible. Like, I was just like, how did he make that save? Like I said, if you have not seen it, go back and watch it. I know it's early. I know it was the first game of the year, but that's already a candidate for save of the year. Book it. Because that was incredible. I'm running out of adjectives to describe it. Markstrom was phenomenal in between the pipes, and if this is any indication as to what's to come the rest of the way, Markstrom might see his name in the running for the Vezina Trophy, similar to what happened a couple seasons ago. He's like wine. The older he gets, maybe the better he gets. My second star has to go to Paul Cotter. Paul Cotter had a multi-point performance. He got the secondary assist on Nico Hischier's goal, and that came because he was forechecking the hell out of the Sabres, and he was rewarded with a point, and he also got the empty netter goal. Broken play by the Sabres. Lindy Ruff was not too happy behind the bench. He looked very frustrated with the poor game plan and strategy from his roster. Cotter put it on in, and the game was put to bed. Cotter, multi-point performance. I don't know if that's going to happen too often, but like I said, change of scenery can go a long way. I talked about this over the summer. Cotter's a very good player, but he just needs to work on being a little more efficient. And let's see how he can translate it to the Devils. All right. My first star of the game, Jonathan Kovacevic. Multi-point performance, similar to Nathan Bastian, similar to Paul Cotter. Kovacevic was phenomenal, and I think he was a big surprise for a lot of people. He wasn't a surprise to me because I told you guys, he is very underrated. You just need to give him a chance, and I think he's going to do big things. Like I said, he got the assist on Stefan Nason's goal, and then a little later in the period, he got his own goal thanks to Jonas Siegenthaler and Dawson Mercer. Kovacevic made a good first impression in period one. I just got to give it to him because he helped set the tone for New Jersey, and he was someone you probably wouldn't have expected that from. I expect big things from Kovacevic if he does play in a decent amount of games, but I did not expect for him to get the party started for the Devils. Those are my 3 stars. Those are my honorable mentions, and those are the players that stood out for me. Now, before I compare the stats and give the Devils a letter grade, let me tell you guys about FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Look at the odds, and please remember to always gamble responsibly. All right, let's compare the stats, give the Devils a letter grade, and get out of here. And just a fair warning, this is going to be the final time we see Lindy Ruff for a good while. Devils play the Sabres again in Prague in a few hours when this episode goes live. But the next time the Devils will play Buffalo will actually be in February. Just a friendly warning. All right, so get all your Lindy Ruff jokes in right now because, like I said, it's going to be a minute before you see him. All right. Shots on goal differential, 31-23 in favor of the Sabres. They were giving it a good shot as the game progressed, but Jacob Markstrom was just better. Faceoff percentage, 57.6% to the Sabres, 42.4% to the Devils. Power play, Devils were 0 for 2. Sabres were 0 for 4. Decent PK for New Jersey. And for the Sabres, Lindy Ruff, remember last year when the Devils struggled on their power play? I'm just kidding. All right. I got to stop throwing shade at Lindy. I didn't think he was a problem. Anyway, hits, dead even, 25 apiece. Block shots, 17-15 in favor of the Devils. Giveaways, 22-12 in favor of New Jersey. Takeaways, 5-2 in favor of the Sabres. If I had to give the Devils a letter grade, you know what? They exceeded my expectations. This is not a tap out. I think they did really well, and any mistake they did make, it's the first game of the year. Got to be patient with them. I got to give them an A. We're going to start the season off strong. I'm giving the Devils an A. They did really well, and they dominated the Sabres, and this is what I hope the Devils can do in the future. It's game 1 of 82. Don't get ahead of yourself, but I'm liking what I'm seeing from New Jersey so far. All right. Let me know what you guys think. Who stood out in your opinion, and what were some of your initial reactions to the first game in Prague? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment down below if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening on a podcast streaming service, hit me up on my personal X-Page app at TrainMap4 or the show's X-Page app at Locked On Devils. As for today's episode, that's all the time I have for you. Continue to stay safe. Have a wonderful day, New Jersey. Go Devils. I'll catch you guys next episode. Thanks for listening once again.